Welcome to TILOS Radio, Edward Powell. When I searched the internet, I realized that you started as a hardcore...
hardcore? No.
Or heavy metal?
No.
Rock guitarist?
No. In those days, I'm an old man by now, but in those days, the heavy metal was not even a word. You know, it was hard rock, blues rock, and progressive rock, and
yes, I saw the picture. You with the Stratocaster.
Yeah. That was for a club.
Do you have this guitar?
I actually just sold it last year.
Oh,
yeah.
I have a Stratocaster too. Just ask.
It's a beautiful guitar,
yes,
but I just don't play it anymore. So I sold it actually. No, but so I started as rock, hard rock, blues, and then I actually started to study jazz and this kind of. What actually happened was I of course started as a rock guitar player, as everyone does, like everybody else.
At the age of 6.
Well, no way. I actually started with cello at the age of 6, and after 6 months, I broke the bow.
During a performance?
No. During practice. And so we stopped that for a while. But then when I was 12, I started playing guitar, and then by the time I was 20, I actually started having very strange health problems. And this was very interesting because I started having health problems and skin problems, and I actually decided to quit playing electric guitar, sort of. And to make a long story short, this is kind of a change that happened in my life which led me towards going to India and learning Indian music. Because the energy of good quality, good energy rock music or whatever is a great energy, but the alcohol and the crazy lifestyle surrounding it is not something you want to do, or it's not sustainable, right? Whereas Indian music with sitar and this kind of has such a powerful energy, but surrounding Indian music is a very healthy lifestyle. It's something you can do your whole life. You can live the Indian lifestyle, you know what I mean? I'm trying to say this kind of spiritual lifestyle, yoga or whatever, vegetarian lifestyle, and you can be healthy and happy for a long time. Whereas if you live the rock and roll lifestyle, you're going to last about 30 years maximum, right? So I slowly made this change over in my life, but music was always at the core, and energy, music with a real soul, music with energy, has always been interesting to me. But Indian music, Middle Eastern music, these traditional musics with improvisation and just, all music is wonderful. All music is wonderful, but I was always attracted to music with more improvisation and more, how to describe it, feeling which appeals to me,
And this is how you ended in Czech Republic?
Well, yeah, not exactly. I always know I'm from Vancouver, Canada, right? And over there, in the city, Vancouver is a very cultural city, and there's a lot of people and everything. But if you go out of Vancouver, you have a lot of trees, mountains, bears, and there's not very many people. There's not very much culture. There's not much going on for musicians over there. So I always thought in my mind, it would be nice to move to Europe, And Western Europe is not so appealing to me, actually. It's kind of... Eastern Europe always was attractive. I always thought Eastern Europe would be the place for me, Because there's more... I don't know, the culture. Western Europe is very Americanized already. Very westernized, is very plastic, commercial place already, I feel. Even when I go there now, I just feel, okay, this is... But Eastern Europe always has some more kind of spice, more juice. I don't know what it is. And it's more affordable to live here also. It's more affordable. There's more interest in some, in Western Europe, they're already overfed with all the great artists coming through all the time. So Eastern Europe just always seemed to me a very interesting place to go and live. And so actually, on my 10th time to India, this is after about 5 years in India, I met a very beautiful Czech girl in Ladakh. And that was the bridge which brought me over to the Czech Republic. And Summarize, go for it.
Kanadában születtem, ami nem arról volt híres, hogy nagyon pezsgett volna a kulturális élete. Csellózni kezdtem, de aztán egyszer el is törtem a cselló vonóját, 14 évesen megkaptam az első gitáromat, de 20 éves korom tájékán olyan egészségügyi problémáim lettek, ami valahogy arról kezdett el mesélni, hogy egy kicsit változtatnom kell az életemen. Valahogy így jutottam ki Indiába valamikor a 20-as éveim közepetájékán, és rájöttem, hogy van egy olyan akusztikusan is játszható zene, ami pont ugyanolyan erős, mint a rock and roll. Ez az indiai klasszikus zene. 5 éven keresztül éltem Indiába, ahol Ambátor megérintett az egész kultúrának a szele, de mégis jóval korábban eldöntöttem például azt, hogy nem fog húst tenni, megpróbálok az egészségre koncentrálni. Egyébként egyszer is mondta nekem Eddi, hogy ő 120 évig szeretné élni, úgyhogy ezt így nagyon mélyen belerakta a fejébe. És aztán végül szerelmes lettem egy kedves cseh lányba, emiatt költöztem Csehországba, bár Kanada felől mindig is úgy éreztem, hogy nagyon izgalmasnak tűnhet Európa, azonban Nyugat-Európa gyakorlatilag amerikanizálódott, egy nagyon steril, nagyon, nagyon műanyag világ. Kelet-Európának pedig mindig volt egy kis furcsa mellékíze, ami miatt vonzódtam oda. So, I've summarized everything. But today you brought a very special instrument. This is not a sitar, this is not an oud, this is like a very old modernish something.
What?
Old modernish something.
Well, a good friend of mine called it a watermelon.
A watermelon.
Because, the back is so huge. Can you see that on the web camera? Yeah. Instead it looked like a watermelon, and that kind of hurt my feelings. Like, come on, it's a watermelon, But no, this is actually, should I describe it? Or
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is an instrument which I designed and built myself. The idea behind the instrument is to make a Middle Eastern instrument, like Turkish, Arabic, oud, and to combine that with something I can play ragas on, like sarod, for example. The original idea, this is version 9, and the first 4 versions were actually guitar-ish, So they were like this, but with guitar body, and I called it kind of like a fretless guitar, special fretless guitar. But the tone, with each version, there was some special tone, some special character, but I was really not satisfied with the tone of these instruments. And so with each new version, I changed the design to try to get the tone. And, finally, the versions, each version, they started getting more and more big and strange and different shapes, and it just wasn't really satisfying. So on this version, I actually just made the body. The body is actually an oud, an Arabic lute.
A huge one.
Well, it's bigger. It's bigger. It's not really huge, just a little bit bigger. But the soundboard and the bracing and the holes and everything, it's basically the same, except I put an extra neck on it. And the other neck has got sarod strings on it. Sarod is the Indian lute. And it actually works very, very well. I'm very satisfied with the sound of this instrument, and it shows when you go back to the simple things, it works much better than some crazy sometimes. It depends, but, in this case, the simple oud body works. So it's actually sounding, the oud part is sounding very much like an oud, and the sarod part sounds quite like a sarod. And the idea was to, first of all, I studied sitar for a long time, right? But I'm not an Indian, right? I'm not from India. I didn't grow up in that culture, and I just think I finally start to feel that is great. Was great for me to learn that, but it's not really me in a sense, you know. And I also learned Middle Eastern music, but that's also not really me, if you know what I mean. This is like something that, this is a modern phenomenon, because modern travel, possibilities to travel and study in other places, this is something very new in human existence. So people like us, we've traveled, we've studied, and then we learn a lot of stuff. But then after you learn and learn, then the years go by, you go, well, what to do with all of this? Really, what to do? I mean, like, okay, I know Indian music, but I'm not Indian. I know this, but I'm not, you know. So I've been trying to find myself, you can say, like, try to find out who am I. So actually what I am is a combination of all the experiences I have had. So and to create something new from that. So that's what I'm trying to do with the instrument, is to, not to be Indian, but certainly India is very much part of me now. So, but I'm not 100%. So this neck this is about as much percentage as me, this neck, you see? And this neck is about how much percentage I am of Turkish. The only thing I'm still trying to figure out is how to bring back the percentage of heavy metal into this music, you know. Trying to figure, that's a joke. But
can you show us?
Show a little bit how
the
how
upper
it
neck
sounds.
and the lower neck sounds.
Exactly. Okay.
And what, you know.
Szabi, mondd, hogy mit látunk esetleg.
Okay. So this is the upper neck. This is the oud neck. So this is. Down to the lower neck, and you the Indian sound. So I'm so happy with this instrument because there's really quite two different sounds in one instrument. Of course, the trick is I use two completely different types of picks. On the first finger I put a sitar pick, which is a metal pick, and then with my second finger I'm holding a very thin plastic pick for the oud. So the picking is totally different, and also the playing of my left hand is different because with the sarod part I play with the nails on. So this is really also how the sound is so different with one instrument. Okay.
Szóval akkor most összefoglalásképpen, és azt gondoltam, hogy utána játszhatnánk is valami zenét. Azt azért elmondom előre, hogy Eddie 1 órán keresztül lesz itt nálunk, és az utolsó negyed órában ő élőben fog itt játszani nekünk. Tehát ami eddig elhangzott, elkezdődött ennek a különleges hangszernek a bemutatása, aminek a neve RAGMAKAMTAR. Úgy született ez a hangszer, hogy bármerre is járt eddig, mindig próbálta megtalálni saját magát ezekben az utazásokban, és hiába tanult Közel-Keleten, hiába tanult Indiában, nagyon különleges, nagyon szép zenéket, nagyon szép hangszerekkel, valahogy mindig hiányolta önmagát ebből. Ebből az igényből született az, hogy megalkossa azt a hangszerét, amiben mind az út szépsége, mind pedig a sarod hangjának a szépsége megtalálható, és ám bátor szitár tanult Indiában, mégis valahogy a rengeteg gitártanulás és gyakorlásból az jött ki, hogy a sarod az egy olyan hangszer, ami nagyon, nagyon jól fekszik neki. Úgyhogy eddig 12 verziót csinált ebből a hangszerből saját kezüleg, saját ötletei alapján. Ez a 9. verzió, amit most elhozott hozzánk, amit láthatok a webkamerán keresztül, és ez az, ami a legszebben szól.
Egy kicsit írjuk le azért itt a rádió hallgatóknak, akik nem láthatják, egy lantszerű, arab lantra hasonlító hangszer, aminek az a legnagyobb különlegeség, hogy 2 nyaka van, és ugye ez a 2 nyak adja itt az előbb említett 2 hangszer különböző hát a húrokat is, ugye, ha jól értettem, és hát a különböző játéktechnikát. Ez mind a 2 nyak egyébként bund nélküli, fretless-nek nevezett, ami hát ugye Európában talán, hát nem az, hogy nem ismert, mert ugye a hegedű minden egy csomó hangszerre ugye ez igaz, viszont a gitárokra, ugye jellemzően a bund van, az indiai zenében megint vannak is bundok, nincsenek is, tehát hogy ezen lehet így szépen csúsztatni a hangot, és Eddi még megemlítette, hogy nagyon fontos a pengető, különböző pengetési technikát használ a két nyakhoz, különböző ujjain vannak kis kiegészítők, és ezért a megszólalásban is gondolom máshogyan szólal meg. Tilos Rádió FM 90.3 Szigvíz műsort hallgatjátok különleges vendégekkel. Edward Powell van itt Kanadából, Csehországból, Indiából, különleges hangszerével, és Toth Szabi segít beszélgetni, és hamarosan egy koncertet is hallhatunk élőben a stúdióból.
Yeah, you described precisely your instrument, but what is the name of your instrument?
Oh, didn't I say that? Okay, the name is a RAGMAKAMTAR. Okay, RAGMAKAMTAR, and
which comes
from as I said, the basic idea of the instrument is to combine. Is to somehow combine Indian music with Middle Eastern music. And in India, the name of an Indian mode is a raga. When you play Indian music, you play in a raga. And the Middle Eastern equivalent is a maqam. Okay? So the idea is the Indian neck, that's for mostly playing ragas, and the oud neck is mostly for playing maqam, and tar, guitar, sitar, ektar, dotar. Tar means string.
Tar is a Persian instrument.
And tar, just the word tar,
yes,
is also an instrument. So it's a rag, maqam, tar.
Can you show me a maqam which is equivalent to an Indian rag?
Okay, you will never find an exact equivalent. Doesn't exist. I mean, this is actually, you touched on a very good point there just with this question, right? Because this is one of the biggest problems in music today, is people are looking for equivalents. As I said, now in the modern world we have this possibility to travel, and we have the internet, and actually space has just, there is no space anymore. You can be anywhere, anytime. So, of course people become interested in different cultures and stuff like that, and then want to combine different cultures and find the easiest way to do it, of course. So somebody knows some scale, and think, maybe we can find some scale which is similar to something in your culture, for example. And they go, yeah, this. And so people are starting to combine and think these certain scales which look similar, which are actually very different. So you can't not find an exact equivalent. And if you do, you will probably spoil the real character of the original. So, yeah, I mean, so if I will try to find something which is similar, there is, Beravi and Kordi, right? What we played last night, right? Which is looking similar. I mean, this scale, this one. That's known as a Phrygian mode in Western music, and flamenco music is based on that a lot, and you have Raga Bhairavi and Makam Kurdi, and so that's something similar, right? But again, it's really totally different once you go into playing it according to how it's played in one tradition or another.
Like in Persian, Turkish music, they use definitely more small intervals.
You mean Persian and Turkish music?
Turkish and Persian
right.
and Turkish music than for example Indian music.
Yeah, exactly.
So, can you please show us something with this taste?
Yeah. First of all, Indian music is more or less based on just intonation, with the 12-tone system, and Indian music generally doesn't use microtones as like a microtonal note that you kind of just sit on that, generally. Microtones in Indian music are used more as sort of passing notes, as sort of sliding down from one to another. For example, right? You hear I'm going, it's kind of falling, but you wouldn't, like in Indian music, play like, you wouldn't do that, but you would do that in Arabic music. For example, Makam Rast is that out of tune note is very much used, but in Indian music you would never sit on that note, right? You would never hold it. So Indian music uses microtones, but only as a kind of passing note, whereas Makam music, Turkish, Arabic, and Persian music really uses those out-of-tune notes. For example, one of the most common makams is ushak, and the second note is a microtone. So you. Hear that out of tune? Now, can you feel that? These kind of. Yeah.
Please don't try to play it on piano.
Don't try to play that on the piano. Yes. Because it's this is another big misunderstanding is Western musicians generally tend to say, "Oh, that's a quarter tone. Oh, you're playing quarter tones." Right? Because we in the West, we like to chop everything up into little blocks, squares, with exactly the same, equal, everything equal, and if it doesn't fit into the kind of square blocks, then we make the blocks smaller. So we have half tones, and then if half tones don't work, we make quarter tones. But it's not. quarter tones, right? It's not. It's these microtones. They will move position depending on which direction the melody is going. So they're not static like on a piano. You cannot play this music on the piano, but something which is kind of sad. I mean, not only sad, maybe it's happy in some way, but a very strong tendency in the Middle East now is to use piano in Middle Eastern music. Piano. It's a fashion at the moment. So all of the maqams get flattened. All the oud players, the violin players, the ney players, they have to flatten all of the microtones and make their tones fit to the piano, which is an out-of-tune instrument.
Summarizing.
Okay.
Szóval, itt van ez a gyönyörű hangszer, az a neve, hogy RAGMAKAMTAR, ami tulajdonképpen 3 szóból rakodik össze, rág, mint a rága Indiából, makam, mint a makam közel-keletről, és a tár, ami egy hangszernek is a neve, de nagyon sok hangszer nevében visszaköszönt, ektár, dotár, gitár, szitár, vagy éppen a tár maga. Úgyhogy ebben a hangszerben próbáltam meg összefoglalni.
És a jelentése húr egyébként, ha jól tudom, a tár.
Igen. És ebben a hangszerben próbáltam meg összefoglalni a tanulmányait, meg próbáltam meg belelátni saját magát eddig. És akkor innentől kezdve elkezdtünk belemenni a finomságokba, hogy vajon tényleg van-e hasonlóság az indiai zene és a közel-keleti zene között. Azt mondta, hogy hát hasonlóság van, azonosság nincsen. Ez egy nagyon fontos pont, tehát meg lehet látni azt, hogy mi volt, vagy meg lehet látni azt, hogy ezeknek a zenéknek valahol volt egy közös kiindulópontja, egy közös nevezője, és akkor hogy múltak az évszázadok, évezredek, és más irányba fejlődött maga a muzsika. Bemutatta ezeket a mikrotónusokat, még egyszer elmondanám nektek is, hogy nem negyedhangok, mert a negyedhang kifejezés az egyszerűen abból fakad, hogy megpróbáljuk mindig egyenlő arányban fölvagdosni az oktávot, egyenlő arányban fölvagdosni az egész hangokat félhangokra, és azt meg negyedhangokra, közben pedig a zene ennél sokkal szabadabb. Amiket bemutatott, azok olyan hangok voltak, amik nem találtok meg például a zongorán, vagy nem találtok meg más temperált hangszeren. Ezek olyan hangok, amik nagyon fontos részét képezik az indiai zenék, és nagyon fontos részét képezik a közel-keleti muzsikának is, ami egyébként, mint hogy minden más, elkezd megfeküdni az európai kultúrának, a nyugati kultúrának, és például is, ahogy Eddi is mondta, elkezdtek használni zongorát ezekben a zenékben, ami nagyon megöli ezt a mikrotonalitást.
Sőt, léteznek olyan ugye lakodalmas billentyűs hangszerek, láttam már, hogy ilyen egyiptomi verzió, tehát hogy egy kicsit belepróbálják rakni ezt a mikrotonalitást, de hát szóval kevés eredménnyel, és valóban szóval, hogy uniformalizálódnak ezek a dolgok, akár arab zenébe, akár perzsa zenébe, gondolom Indiában is vannak borzasztó slágerek.
So, now I understand the idea behind the instrument and how Edward Powell came into the field of this RAGMAKAMTAR playing.
Oh, well, okay. I was explaining before that I used to be a rock guitar player, and I actually when I was about 20 years old, I started getting ill. I was in northern Canada with a group playing around, and I started to get very ill. With my energy was very down. I had skin problems, and then I actually really started to have a feeling that I really can't do this anymore with this lifestyle of the clubs and all this. So I actually quit that group, and I was so freaked out by this illness that I actually became something like a new age health freak for a number of years, studying about nutrition and Eastern philosophies. It really changed my life, and so I got my health together. But then music hadn't really changed yet. And so some years later, I went to India and then started to play Indian music, and this was like the musical change, which was going along with the spiritual change, which happened 5 years earlier. You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, from then I really decided to really leave electric guitar completely, and I focused very, very much on sitar, Indian music. And I also became interested at the same time in Middle Eastern music. So I studied that also and traveled to Morocco and Greece and Turkey and Egypt to learn that music also. And as I was saying before, finally I really ended up with too much luggage, because I don't want to own a car in my life. I don't want to contribute to the industrialized plastic culture of this world. I want to keep my life simple. I don't want to have too much material things. I don't want to own a car. I don't want to be stressed with luggage and also stressed with having too many instruments to practice. So I thought, how to combine Indian music, Middle Eastern music, and Western music, how to combine that in just one instrument, right? So I really thought about that. Why not just build a strange instrument on which I can play everything? So that was the idea, to do that. And also, in the process of doing that, I could find a way to do something which is original and not be a copy of somebody else, right? So that's it, basically.
But it's a very complex instrument, so...
Complex?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how to start to make an instrument like that.
How to build?
Yeah, how to build the instrument. You must be a very trained carpenter or instrument maker.
Oh, I see what you mean. How did I get to actually build it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I just tried and started, and my first instruments were not very good. But, I've always been handy with my hands and, a good carpenter, as you say, and repairing roofs and things like this. And I started to... Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. How did I really start? I remember now. What happened was... This is a funny story. Because I remember in India, Buddhaditya, my sitar teacher, explained to me how do you get a good sound of sitar. And he said that the soundboard is tuned to a certain note and the pumpkin is tuned to another note. And I started to realize that in India, you can get a very, very cheap sitar which looks exactly the same as the expensive sitar. And then I realized that actually the people making the sitar bodies are the same people. The only difference is the expensive makers take that body and they just know how to tune the soundboard and the back. That's the only difference, really. And so I thought, wow, well, what about to buy one of these cheap sitars, cut it open, and tune the soundboard and the pumpkin, and glue it back together, see what happens. So I tried that, and it worked. It really worked. I took a very cheap sitar, and just by tuning it myself, it made a very, very good instrument. So from there, I started to gain some confidence with this. So I actually cut open maybe 10 sitars, actually. I have many sitars I've lying around, cut open and modified. And then eventually I just started to think maybe I could actually build an instrument. I built some practice instruments, like a stick of wood with a practice sitar, a travel sitar. And I built a few practice instruments, and I thought, well, why not just try to build an oud? It just went slowly like this, and slowly my instruments became better. In 2006, I was in Istanbul for 1 year on a grant to study Indian music. And at that time, I had just finished building version 1 of RAGMAKAMTAR. And I took it to Faruk Turuns, who's a very amazing oud maker. I took that version 1 to him, and just to show him, because he's an amazing instrument maker who tunes the braces of the oud. So that was very attractive to me, because I was always already tuning sitars. So I went to him and said, hey, look at... And he was so amazed by this RAGMAKAMTAR, and we became friends immediately, and he just invited me to come to his workshop and build an instrument there. And so it was an amazing experience. So that experience where I spent every day for 7 months in the workshop of Faruk Turuns, they fed me, gave me materials, helped me, and I became one of the family there. And at that time, my instrument building skills went... It was like an apprenticeship, even I was building my own instrument. So my instrument building skills really became more professional at that time.
Hát az egész úgy kezdődött, hogy ugye beleszerettem az indiai zenébe, nagyjából 5 évvel azután, hogy elkezdtem megváltoztatni az életemet, mert azt láttam, hogy azok a rockerek vagy nem élnek sokáig, vagy akik sokáig élnek, azok szörnyen néznek ki. És akkor belefutottam abba, hogy milyen különleges varázsa van az indiai klasszikus zenének, és nem csak, hogy tanulni kezdtem, de az, akinél elkezdtem tanulni, Pandit Budaditya Mukherjee egy olyan különleges játékos volt, akit nagyon érdekelt magának az egész hangszernek a felépítménye, nagyon sokat foglalkozott a hangszer tökéletesítésével, a hangszer szépítésével, jobbá tételével, és ő kezdte el megmutatni, hogy hogyan kell hangolni ezeket a hangszer különböző részeit, és mivel én mindig is egy olyan ember voltam, aki szerette a kétkezi munkát, szeretett a kezével dolgozni, teljesen evidens volt, hogy én is elkezdjek felnyitni szitárokat, és megpróbáljak összerakni belőlük egy olyan hangszert, ami az én álmaim hangszere. Aztán pedig Egyiptomba járva 7 hónapot töltöttem egy ösztöndíj kapcsán egy úd készítő műhelyébe, ugyanis az údkészítő azt találta ki, hogy az úd fedőlapjának a gerendázatát, bordázatát kezdte el behangolni, és ezért voltak nagyon különlegesek az ő hangszerei. Úgyhogy így kezdődött, 2006-ban akkor készült el ennek a RAGMAKAMTARnak az első verziója, és mint ahogy mondtam, ez most a 9., ami legjobban szól az eddig elkészült 12-ből. Valamit akartál mondani, Peti?
Ha jól sejtem, akkor Egyiptom helyett Törökország volt az a Isztambulban.
Lehet, ugye simán lehet, mert visszahallgatjátok, és biztos jobban emlékszel, mint én.
Megsértődjenek egymásra
így van,
a nemzetek.
Így van, hogy megsértődjenek. So, please, would you please play something for us?
Okay.
Can you please explain what you are going to play?
Okay, I'm not sure yet, but I think because we talked about the Bharavi and the chord and this, that I will do an improvisation. No composition, just a improvisation, and I will try to jump back and forth between the necks a little bit. So this is one instrument, sounds like two instruments, but it's just one. So I'm going to go back. I'm just going to improvise in this kind of Bharavi chord makam mixture. Okay?
Thank you.